All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. So today, before we get started, I was doing a little bit of reading, and I was reading just this. I've been reading this book of what I would call kind of reflective writing or meditations or teachings, focusing on Zazen, which is just sitting meditation. And one of the things I read, I don't know, the other day or whenever I was reading that kind of struck me is that Shunryo Suzuki, who wrote the book, was talking about karma. And what he was talking about was the idea of how we don't always address the small problems and those turn into big problems. The idea that if we examine karma, it really comes from small things. And he uses sort of the metaphor of driving your car. And I'm completely guilty of this in some way. So I think it really struck with me. You hear a little noise in your car and you think, not a big deal. Um, and you hear, it feels like your car isn't running right, but it's working okay. And it's like, not a big deal. And what he says is that eventually it does turn into a big deal. You have a bigger problem because you haven't address the smaller problem. And I can say I am guilty as charged at times of exactly that. Although I try not to be, it does happen. But what he goes on to say, and the point that he makes, is that when we understand the things that lead us to dissatisfaction, to suffering, to unhappiness, and we understand them, then we can address them. And what he talks about is that if you don't stop and listen to the small things that arise that cause you dissatisfaction, that will lead to karma or bad karma in the sense that they will continue to grow and arise and develop and turn into bigger problems. And what he says is that what we really want to do is we want to understand the smaller things, understand the things that cause us dissatisfaction and discomfort, especially as they are just beginning to arise. And that through that process of understanding what causes them and what they are, then we can break the cycle of cause and effect. And the cycle of cause and effect to him is leading to greater suffering. So if my car is kind of making some noise and I stop and try to figure it out and fix it and take care of it, it doesn't grow into a bigger problem. If I have some resentment or anger or some sort of emotion or feeling or doubt, if I don't stop to understand it and look at it, what he's saying is eventually it doesn't go away, it just sort of grows. And in some ways, we're nurturing our own bad karma. And I just thought that was interesting because it is something that I do from time to time. And it is something that when I don't want to deal with something, whatever it is, I put it off. Don't, the idea of don't put off to today, what don't put off till tomorrow what you can take care of today. I think it's basically the same advice. So I was just thinking about that. And I think sometimes as we meditate, as these small things come up, we want to recognize them and then think about, okay, is it something that I ought to or need to address because it is something that is there that is causing me some discomfort, dissatisfaction, suffering, bad feeling. It's stifling me in some way, hindering my own sort of development and growth, something that can make me feel better and can, in a general sense, sort of free me from whatever that feeling is and to act and respond in a way that's going to be better. So I thought that was an interesting teaching, and I actually read that section a couple of times because I felt like I was looking in the mirror sometimes and reading it. So always interesting. All right, well, I'm going to set my watch and we will begin our meditation. And let me just do that. All right, so as we begin today, we get ourselves settled. We sit in our chairs. We feel the chair on our body. We feel that sense of comfort. We feel ourselves slowing down, and we see ourselves in that chair, and we feel the pressure of the chair on us. We feel our hands on the armrests, perhaps, or in our lap, and we bring ourselves to just focusing on our sensations, completely immerse our mind in the sensations that we feel, the feeling of the chair, the temperature of the room, whatever sounds might be around in the room, our own sense of comfort. And we do a quick body scan. And as we sit with our bodies, we scan them and look for the places where we feel some tension or tightness or discomfort, something that feels for us out of the ordinary, something that signifies in some way I need to perhaps let go, to open myself up, that I'm holding something physically. And we search for those spots. We scan, starting in our heads, and just kind of roll down slowly in our minds. And we kind of feel our jaws, which is a place sometimes we hold tightness, or in our neck, which is another place that some of us may hold it, or our shoulders, through our bodies. And we just become attuned to what our bodies are communicating to us. And we remember that our bodies do interact with our mind in ways that we can't see, through this magical process almost of, as the mind feels something, as we feel tension or nervousness, perhaps we feel it in our bellies. If we feel anger, perhaps our necks get tight. If we feel joy, perhaps our shoulders loosen up. But we become in tune to the communication between our bodies and our minds. And we remember that one is not actually communicating to the other, but we are attached to it. So that our minds are attached to our bodies, and our bodies are attached to our mind, and they work in a sense in a circular motion, constantly in communication, constantly expressing through various means what is there. And so we look for that. We search our bodies to find that. And we search our minds to try and make that connection. Why do I feel closed? What is the closed feeling about? Why do I feel tightness? Why do I feel anxious? Why do I feel whatever emotion is there? And we can couple that with whatever is happening to us, and whatever is most present in our mind in this day. And we seek back and we look at what have we been carrying with us on this day? What is there for us? What are the things that have been, in a sense, nagging and in our minds during this day? What didn't I complete? What do I need to do? What makes me feel uneasy? Where is that imbalance at? Where am I feeling those things? And we just focus on that for a moment. And we allow whatever to arise in this process to come up. So as we scan our bodies, we look for the small things, the little things that we might tuck away, take out and put in our notebook and close that notebook up because we don't want to see it. Or the mail we don't want to open because I don't want to deal with that today. I don't have the energy for it. And so we open ourselves up and we allow ourselves to be aware of what those things have been for us on this day. And as we come back to our chairs, our beds, our seats, wherever we're seated, we slow our minds as if we're going half speed, perhaps a quarter speed. We just slow ourselves down. We follow it with our breath. And so as we breathe slowly, we time the thoughts in our mind at that same pace. We match the two as if our breath is like music we're keeping time to, like a beat, as if we were dancing, but it's our minds that are dancing, our minds that are moving, our body that is sensing it. And so we use our breath to slow the dance down, to go from a fast, quick dance like the Charleston or something of that nature that is quick, to something perhaps more like a waltz that is slow, where the steps are slower and the beat is slower. And in our minds, we can hear that slower beat. We can imagine being in a hall, a big open hall, and someone playing perhaps the violin for us, slowly. Perhaps a flute being added to it, the tones of the flute playing slowly. And as we hear the music, the violin, the flute, perhaps another woodwind instrument like an oboe, we see how these things combine. We hear the notes, and the notes become our thoughts. And our thoughts are slow. And as we hear these thoughts and notes and the movement of our mind, we think about what rises up as we hear the music. What are the things that are rising up for us? And we allow them to come into view. And we see them, and we examine them. And we think about whether they're reoccurrent and happening a lot, or whether they're fleeting. And we examine them, and we are aware of them. And we try to think about how, as they arise, what emotions arise with them, what our body says with it. And as we sit in that hall, in a comfortable chair, it has a wooden floor, a high ceiling. It's ornate. The building is ornate, as would be fitting for a symphony, perhaps. An opera house, a performing arts center. Something that has character. Something that perhaps reminds us of an earlier time. It has character and feels like it comes out of perhaps the 19th or early 20th century. And so we are in this ornate hall with perfect acoustics, where the sounds just flow through us. And as the music plays, we can envision the notes as part of us, not separate from. The notes aren't being played by someone else out there. The notes are being played as something we receive, as a gift that the universe gives to us. And that we let it flow through all parts of us. We feel it, the vibrations on our skin, on our body, certainly in our ears, the vibrations. We think about the neurons as they send those vibrations so our brain can interpret them and hear them as music, as rhythm. We see what arises. Perhaps we see images from the music. Memories arise from the music. Perhaps we see color or feel temperature. The music transforms us into a total sensory experience. And the room is muted, the light is muted. It's not dark, but it's not light. It's somewhere in between. There's almost sort of a gray, muted color that surrounds us. There are small little light bulbs in the chandeliers, and the chandeliers are ornate, something that, for me, I would picture out of the Palace of Versailles and how I would picture what that would look like, or any ornate kind of building. But it has beauty, not something overdone, but done with taste, with tact, with softness, something that creates an environment that makes you almost feel like you're sitting on a bunch of pillows, or that the room is filled with a cottony substance that is soft. And there's a certain warmth to it that you feel as you sit there. And so we place ourselves in this place. We hear the music, we accept the music, we think of it as a gift and as part of us. And the music gets transferred from outside of us to inside of us. And although we have no instruments, no flute, no oboe, it's as if we are playing the instruments. The song is part of us. We have become the song. The song has become us. And we allow that song and its notes to just rise up in us. And we listen. And as we listen, and as our eyes are now closed, we come to our breath, and we want to focus ourselves and focus our minds and surround ourselves with the tones and the music and the cottony softness and the muted light, almost like a cocoon that protects us and allows us to see anything that arises in a protected state. Our thoughts cannot harm us, but we can see them. Our thoughts are part of us, but they don't define us. And as we sit, we come back to our breath. We drop our shoulders. And we slowly breathe in. And the air and the breath is almost like the music that we've been hearing. It's as if we are breathing in the music and we can feel it in. And the music fills our lungs. And it expands. And our lungs contract. And the tones in the music are exhaled back for others to hear, others to see, to share. Because the music is for all of us. It surrounds us all. And we come back to our breath. And we breathe in and out. And so we will meditate and breathe and sit in silence for a bit, focusing on our breath, focusing on hearing the internal music in our minds, breathing it in and breathing it out, and breathing it in and breathing it out, surrounding ourselves, opening ourselves up, allowing that music to bring up whatever is there, to see it, to watch it as if it's on the stage. And we can see the music in our mind mingling, almost like little notes dancing around our thoughts. And so we begin in silence. So we come back to our theater and we transport ourselves outside of the theater to perhaps an amphitheater, a theater outside, a theater where we would sit on a blanket in a grassy field, and perhaps there's a stage in front of us, and we can see the setting sun behind us, behind the stage, and the color of the light beginning to change. And the light has notes that we can almost see. It's changing, like music moves and changes. It has a rhythm and a pattern. Our breath has a rhythm and a pattern. The players playing the music have a rhythm and a pattern. And we allow ourselves to just follow that. The sun sinking slowly, a little at a time, behind the stage. The sun going from a yellowy color to an orangey color to a darker color, and the background of the sky behind it also getting darker, going from a bluish color to a muted blue to a grayish color, and slowly turning darker. And we are enveloped and bathed in this changing light, in the change of the sun, in the change of how the sun feels on our skin as it disappears, and we feel the temperature cool off a little at a time. And this is all how our mind is working. It's following this process, following this movement. And it opens us up. It allows us to be able to let things rise. As the sun sets, we feel a sense of openness. As night comes, we feel a sense of openness. The sky is so huge. It seems to go on to infinity. And so, as stars fill the sky, so things arise in us, and we see them, and we understand them. It's almost as if it's a magical process that we are in. And we grasp the magic. The magic becomes us. Our minds are magical. Our thoughts are magical. We start to glow and shine almost as we sit in this outside theater with the stars looming overhead, twinkling as we see them, as we look up. And we sit and we allow our thoughts and our feelings and things as they move past us on the stage They are musical as they move, as the songs we hear start at one point and move constantly note to note to note. So our minds do the same. And what arises moves note to note to note to note across that stage. And we bring ourselves back to wherever we're sitting in our homes, in our bedrooms, in our offices, on the floor, on the bed, wherever you are. And we take a deep breath and we focus our energy. We feel our lungs expand. We feel our lungs contract. We feel our bellies expand. We feel our bellies contract. We see the musical notes before us. We see the rhythm of our existence. We take a deep breath. And namaste, may the light in me shine in you.